Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Brooke Rollins. So grateful to the incredible Governor Greg Abbott, who changed his schedule last minute to be here. We decided late last week that it was imperative that we get down here and show again the incredible partnership with our friends here in Texas and on the ground, the Texas Animal Health Commission. Again, just so very, very grateful. We've got a couple of speakers I'm going to lay out and also have a couple of announcements for the press and for those who are with us today. Then the governor will offer some remarks as well. Again, I really appreciate he just did this, I believe, last Thursday or Friday, but this is an ever-evolving and dynamic situation, and we are continuing to make progress. Then we have some extraordinary leaders behind us representing wildlife, representing the cattle rancher, representing USDA, representing the Texas Animal Health Commission, and so we'll hear from them, and then we'll open it up for some questions. Again, we're here in Kerrville, Texas today to discuss the threat of the New World Screwworm and what it poses to our nation's livestock and wildlife, what we are doing to combat it with our state, local, and binational partners. Last Wednesday, of course, June 3rd, USDA confirmed the presence of a New World Screwworm case within the United States here in Texas in the umbilical wound of a calf in Zavala County in southern Texas, where I'll be heading. Actually, I'll be down there on Thursday. The calf has been treated and is recovering. Then on June 5th, just 2 days later, we confirmed a second positive detection in a 30-day-old calf, also located just a few miles away in Zavala County. Yesterday, USDA confirmed 2 additional cases, one in Texas in a calf in LaSalle County and another in Lea County, New Mexico, in a dog that we are hearing has been moved up from Mexico. And today, just a couple of hours ago, we had an additional confirmation in a goat in Gillespie County, Texas. These developments obviously represent a serious threat to our livestock and wildlife, but they haven't caught us off guard. We have been tracking this pest for a long time, and we have fought before, and we will do so again. I want to briefly walk through a timeline. A lot of people don't realize how far back this goes in our country's history. The earliest documentation of the New World Screwworm is from 1842 in the southwestern United States. In 1935, almost 100 years after that first documentation, USDA launched our first educational program almost 100 years ago for producers on how to protect their livestock from these infestations, after animal movement into the Southwest caused an increase of cases back in the 30s. In the 1950s and 1960s, USDA scientists developed the incredible sterile insect technology that is still our best tool to combat this pest, where you are literally at ground zero for that research here in Kerrville at this facility. In 1966, after that product was developed, that science, I should say, was developed, the continental U.S. was declared free of the indigenous New World Screwworm. That was in 1966. In 1986, the U.S.-Mexico Commission succeeded in pushing the New World Screwworm out of Mexico, 1986. From 1994 to 2006, USDA cleared the New World Screwworm entirely from Central America, pushing it back past the Darien Gap, where we assumed it would stay forever, at least until we saw it moving in the last 5 years again. In 2016, I know you all know there was a confirmed case in deer in the Florida Keys that was successfully treated in a bit of a one-off. We don't think it's really relative to today, but important to note that we did have something in 16. By this year, of course, and you all have heard me say this, but I think it's important, we have been prepared and preparing since early last year for the reemergence in America. Now, this does trace back to the last administration and the open border policy and the movement of millions of people and their animals up through from South America through Central America. In 2022 is when the biological barrier in Panama at the Darien Gap was breached in 2022. And then, of course, by the end of the last administration, the pest had reached Mexico and began moving northward. Our administration took immediate action once we returned to office early last year, rapidly strengthening alongside our partners here in Texas the border protections and increasing the oversight containment efforts in Mexico, buying us, and against all odds, every model showed that the New World Screwworm would be here in Texas by early last summer. So we bought ourselves an additional year to prepare for this moment. A couple of quick key action items I want to touch on. Number one, expanding sterile fly production and dispersal capacity. You all are probably tracking that we launched that last year, but earlier this year opened both a dispersal facility in South Texas, but also invested tens of millions of dollars in refitting the fly facility in Matapa, Mexico, beginning last year, which those sterile flies will begin to come online this month. So very good timing. Of course, the massive facility we're building in Moore had, in the production facility, we broke ground just a couple of months ago, expecting to reach in the hundreds of millions of additional sterile flies by mid next year. This morning, as I was driving into Kerrville, we received an update from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, General Butch Graham, who reports to our great Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. They all along, since we started having these conversations last March, a year ago, last March, have prioritized these facilities. It is a War Department facility that is building this under the Army Corps of Engineers. But they have put it at the very top of their priority list, which is how we got it permitted in just a couple of months, ground broken, contractor secured, and building underway. But as of last Wednesday, they have now put one of their top commanders, Colonel Matt Chase, on this as his sole project to help us combat the New World Screwworm, taking the same approach they took to rebuilding schools in Maui within 100 days, building a massive reservoir project in the Everglades, cutting that time of build in by 80% and cutting years off of their projects. This project already was on warp speed, but now it has been put at literally the very top priority for the Department of War and the Army Corps of Engineers. We're also, of course, expanding the sterile fly dispersal along the U.S.-Mexico border and conducting the first ever ground release of the New World Screwworm fly via a ground release vehicle back in February of this year. Again, all of these efforts to ensure that we did everything we could to contain the screwworm south of the border to give us more time to prepare as we're building. Number two, and I'll talk about this is a bit of news today, we are advancing our next generation tools and technologies in addition to building out the facilities. Last year, USDA launched our New World Screwworm Grand Challenge. I think it was late last summer, investing up to $100 million in innovative solutions from the private sector to strengthen eradication efforts and expand sterile fly production. We have spent the last couple of months reviewing over 226 applications through the Grand Challenge, and later this week we will begin rolling out more rapidly than we had planned to until last Wednesday. We were already moving fast, but now you will hear of some of those innovations coming out week by week by week. We also opened this building, as we mentioned just a few weeks ago, the Knipling-Bushland U.S. Livestock Insects Research Laboratory here in Kerrville, providing the world's most cutting-edge research capabilities for the New World Screwworm. Our amazing Kerrville scientists, a few standing behind me, are the teams that developed a novel strain for the sterile New World Screwworm that doubles production output that we will soon be deploying. Under Secretary Hutchins from USDA, himself a 31-year entomologist, will give us more on that in a minute. And finally, we have always been, over the last year, strengthening surveillance, detection, and preparedness. We are actively monitoring over 8,000 surveillance traps that we set out last year along the U.S.-Mexico border and have examined in that time 59,000 plus fly samples and over 19,000 wildlife specimens since January of last year. On top of this, enhancing the border surveillance through increased trapping, increasing our mounted patrols, our tick riders. We've been training dogs to detect at the border entry points, not for livestock, but for companion animals, which that becomes a problem as these companion animals are moving up through Mexico. We have expanded all monitoring activities and will continue to do so. We've also conducted national preparedness exercises beginning last year for this particular moment with our federal, state, and international partners. Of course, our New World Screwworm Playbook, which is at screwworm.gov, has all of this information, so we ask that you continue to review that as you're reporting this out. We have a unified incident command team with the Texas Animal Health Commission and our partners in the governor's office. Of course, you all know we established a 20-kilometer infested zone around the detection from last week, and will continue to implement movement controls and surveillance in the region. We have expedited targeted release of the sterile flies, which mate with the New World Screwworm flies and prevent them from reproducing by immediately deploying 4 million. We got the confirmation on Wednesday. By Wednesday night, we had already begun to deploy up to 4 million ground release chambers in that particular area, and we'll continue to do so in the areas that are coming online with a confirmation. We've increased trapping for the New World Screwworm along the border and just outside of the dispersal area, and of course, as I mentioned, the surveillance. There are a lot of really important things here, but I just think it's so important to give a big shout out to our ranchers from South Texas, many of them represented here today. They now become the front lines for this battle. We now know what the enemy looks like. We now understand what we have to do. And for those men and women, our ranchers along the border, and frankly throughout Texas, who have eyes on their cattle in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, who are the front lines to ensure that we can do everything we can to protect our livestock industry. I can't tell you how incredibly impressed and moved I am. In the year of working with our Texas Cattle Raisers organization, they've been extraordinary, and so many of our ranchers on the ground as we built this out to prepare for this moment. So I continue to just be so grateful. I also want to continue to ensure this does not affect the food supply system. This is not a virus, it is not a disease, it is a pest. And so we obviously are treating it as such, but the food supply system remains intact and couldn't be safer or better than any other food supply system in the world. And the final thing I'll say, and one of the speakers you'll hear from today, a new face to the battle, is my friend and our new senior advisor for the New World Screwworm Preparedness, John Bellinger. John is on the Board of Regents at Texas A&M, an incredibly important partner. Dr. Saville, Dr. Kaufman, Dr. Lamb, just everyone that has been such a great partner in this. John is on the Board of Regents at that great and esteemed institution in College Station, and is chair of the Commission on Research. But most notably, he has tremendous private sector experience in the cattle industry, having founded the Food Safety Net Services, and more specifically, a depth of knowledge in building infrastructure. So we already have a fire lit, but he is going to spend all day, every day, making sure that this infrastructure continues to build out at rapid pace. So John, I want to welcome you to the team, and I'm so grateful. We'll hear from you in just a second. But now, again, I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Governor Abbott. And again, so grateful for all of you being here. And Governor Abbott, your great partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you and your agency are doing to help Texas and the United States combat the screwworm. Thank you for the resources that you're providing. Thank you for working alongside Texas. I too want to thank the ranchers who are here today, as well as those who join me on Friday, as well as those across the entire state. As Brooke Rollins pointed out, listen, you guys are on the front line. We're here to serve you, to help you, to aid you, to respond to issues that you're experiencing on your ranches, issues that you want to avoid occurring on your ranch. And our goal is to be lockstep with you every single day, every step of the way. I also want to thank our state representatives and state senator who joined with us today. We are in the district of House Representative West Verdell, who joins us, and now his district has been affected by this. I think we're in the senatorial district for Pete Flores, whose district is affected by this, as well as Don McLaughlin, a representative whose district was first affected by this in the state of Texas. I thank them for being here and joining us, as well as working with us on rapid solutions for their districts, as well as for the state of Texas. Also want to express my gratitude for Nate Sheets for joining with us and advising us and working with us as we continue to address this growing problem. To double down on something that Secretary Rollins mentioned, there is a well-established prevention and solution for the spread of the screwworm that the federal government has implemented in the past, and that is sterile flies. Prevention requires the release of millions of sterile flies in targeted regions. The USDA is now importing and dispersing those flies in South Texas and will recalibrate to deploy those sterile flies as needed and where needed. The USDA is also constructing that new sterile screwworm production facility in Edinburgh, which we need to get up and running as quickly as possible. Beginning last year, I directed state agencies to establish the Texas New World Screwworm Response Team. This team brought together livestock producers, veterinarians, wildlife experts, and federal partners to prepare in advance. Earlier this year in January, I issued a statewide disaster declaration for all 254 counties in the state of Texas to mobilize resources and to strengthen Texas's prevention and response efforts in advance. Friday, I updated the statewide disaster declaration to make two things clear. I authorized the use of all available resources of state government to respond to this disaster and to reassign all resources needed to address the spread of the screwworm. I am making available any and all state personnel, including personnel from our university systems, to accelerate the movement of sterile flies into Texas and to accelerate the construction of the new sterile screwworm production facility in Edinburgh. Just one example of this, and that is Texas A&M will immediately deploy fly testing facilities to all of the affected areas. Spearheading a larger role for Texas A&M is John Bellinger, whom Secretary Rollins made reference to earlier. John Bellinger is on the Board of Regents and has the most experience and knowledge of anybody on the Board of Regents for Texas A&M about how to address this issue, including knowledge of how to construct these biolabs that are necessary in order to produce the sterile flies. He is marshaling all of the expertise and personnel at Texas A&M to ensure Texas A&M is leaning into solving this problem in Texas. Then today, I activated the State Emergency Operations Center. It is staffed 24/7, 365. Agencies related to the New World Screwworm will be present 7 days a week and available as needed 24/7. Personnel expected to be there include those from the Texas Animal Health Commission, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, the Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension Service, Texas A&M Veterinary Medical Diagnostic Lab, the Texas Department of Agriculture, and the State Department of Health Services. In addition to that, we have announced a certified inspector program. An issue that was raised on Friday was an inadequate number of inspectors. We are solving that today. By this weekend, the Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension, in coordination with the Texas Animal Health Commission, will publish a new World Screwworm training module so ranchers and cattlemen can be certified to inspect their animals to ensure no interruptions to the continuity of business. Additionally, the Agri-Life Extension has moved mobile equipment to Uvalde for closer on-site testing that can be moved elsewhere as needed. Here's what Texans can do right now. Check your animals daily. Check for any wounds, even small wounds like tick bites on navels or newborns or other openings. Treat wounds promptly and work to reduce fly populations around your operations. Report immediately any suspicion of New World Screwworm in wounds to the Texas Animal Health Commission. Anyone can report. You don't have to be a veterinarian to report. If you come upon an animal that you suspect of having the screwworm, do not move it. You can report suspected cases to the Texas Animal Health Commission 24-hour veterinarian call line at 1-800-550-8242. That's 1-800-550-8242. If you observe deer, feral hogs, exotic game animals, or other wildlife showing signs of infestation or unusual wounds, report it immediately to the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department or your local Texas Parks and Wildlife biologists. The Texas Parks and Wildlife biologists can be reached at 512 389 4505. 512 389 4505. Pets, like dogs and cats, with outdoor exposure and untreated wounds, need close monitoring as well. This is a highly treatable condition if acted upon quickly. Bottom line is this: Texas is resilient. Our producers, veterinarians, and state officials are among the very best in the United States. It is critical to stay vigilant and stay informed. We prevented and eradicated this pest before. We can do it again. Back to you, Secretary.
Great. Thank you, Governor. Very well said. Next, Admiral Michael Schmoyer, who has been the lead on this for the Screwworm Directorate in partnership with Dr. Bud Dinges, has some thoughts, and then we'll turn to Dr. Dinges.
Good afternoon. For more than a year, USDA has led a unified national effort. We've deployed enhanced surveillance and strengthened our border defense strategy. We've supported cross-border operations with our partners in Mexico and Central America. These efforts have bought us critical time. We've had over a year and a half to prepare. How has that played out? We've been able to work with many of the people around here in this room today, people that are individuals in this state who are critical to the success of being able to beat this back. We have worked with people to be able to have additional time so we can do trainings, as the Secretary mentioned, exercises to be able to utilize the New World Screwworm Playbook, which actually is available on my favorite website, screwworm.gov. Please let it be yours as well. This website allows you the opportunity to see all of the data when it happens. One of the biggest things that we have the opportunity to address are those misinformed individuals that are out there that put information that isn't quite correct, isn't quite aligned with the science. Please go to screwworm.gov. If you don't like what you see, please email us at screwworm@usda.gov. So that website is critical. The reason is because it shows you the cases as we know them. As we confirm them, they are put up there. It shows you where we're doing our work. The work that we're doing is not just with USDA, it's with our partners in Texas Animal Health, as well as Texas Park and Wildlife. There he is. We can't do what we're doing. And in fact, the Secretary turned me around on the plane when that first case was even suspected, got off the plane, and within 3 hours, I was on Dr. Dinges' doorstep with a garment bag and only 2 days of clothes. This is really important. I joke about that a little bit because the connection between USDA and Texas Animal Health and Texas Park and Wildlife is critical to this success. One of the greatest things that Texas Animal Health oftentimes tells people is this is something that is detectable. This is something that is preventable. This is something that is treatable. One of my other favorite things that they say is the best thing that you can put it on it is your eyes. The best thing you can put on it is your eyes. If you see it, tell us. Let us know, work through Texas Animal Health, work through Texas Park and Wildlife to be able to tell us where it is. As the Secretary mentioned, there is no danger to the food supply. It's much better to have these discussions after a year and a half of preparedness and working with each other than exchanging business cards just today. We celebrate the partnerships that we have with industry, with higher education, Texas Animal Health, Texas Park and Wildlife. We have fantastic things that are coming along the way. One thing I did want to share with you today is, as recently as today, is we will be starting to engage on a trial to look at ivermectin in feed as it relates to wildlife populations. The FDA, USDA, Texas Park and Wildlife will be looking at this to be able to validate, is this something that works? So we're looking at the possibility of using ivermectin and or other products, just as of today. It doesn't stop. As the Secretary mentioned, when we talk about the grand challenge, the offer was put out there for $100 million of ideas. You couldn't stop. You gave us $700 million worth of ideas. The plan is to be able to, as the Secretary mentioned, to be able to announce that and start immediately moving on it. Last but not least, what we need most is your help. We need you to keep working with the systems in Texas to let us know when those cases are there. We cannot do our part to support this fight with the sterile flies. We cannot do our part as far as supporting with trapping and other types of surveillance. We can't do our part to be able to provide you data on screwworm.gov if you don't work with our partners at Texas Animal Health and our partners at Texas Park and Wildlife. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Admiral. Our great partner, Dr. Bud Dinges, leading the effort on the ground. Dr. Dinges.
Good afternoon, and first want to start out by thanking Secretary Rollins for her decisive and quick leadership to enhance our toolbox preventing the spread of New World screwworms, and thank you, Governor Abbott, for the resources that you have provided in this fight too. So thank you for the opportunity to share current information regarding what's going on with our response efforts here in Texas. The USDA, Texas Animal Health Commission, and Texas Parks and Wildlife teams are on the ground in infested zones, conducting active animal surveillance, establishing checkpoints, connecting with landowners and producers for sterile fly release locations, conducting ground and aerial release of sterile flies, and educating animal owners and the public on the pest and how to prevent the spread. We are in close coordination with our partners, taking the regulatory action we have been preparing for since 2024. The goal of our response efforts is to prevent the spread of screwworm out of an infested zone, but keeping the continuity of business going. We need people in zones and across the state to continue to report suspicions as soon as you see them. If you suspect an animal may be infested with New World screwworms, notify the Texas Animal Health Commission or your local veterinarian immediately. Quick notification leads to quick detection and quick response to stop this pest from spreading. Animals will still be able to move. We just need to make sure that they are moving safely and are not moving the screwworm with them. It is important for animal owners to remember infestations from the pest can be prevented. Animal owners need to look at their animals as often as possible and stay vigilant, monitoring for wounds that can be covered and treated. This is not an infectious disease. This is not a food safety issue. These flies may need to lay their eggs in, on, or near a wound for an animal to become infested. So treat and cover wounds as quickly as possible. Animal surveillance is a very large part of how we prevent greater impacts of this pest. This is a highly treatable condition that, if caught early, can be treated and spread prevented. We have tools in our toolbox to prevent devastating impacts that we didn't have before. We want to remind folks that a veterinary-client relationship is critical to best address specific animal and operational needs for treating New World screwworm infestations. I remind you, appropriate use of animal prevention and treatment drugs will need to be followed. I'll conclude by thanking the great folks on the response teams, the invaluable partners, including local law enforcement and for their tireless effort to protect animal agriculture. Our response continues. It's going to take a partnership between government, industry, and animal owners to continue to work together to stop New World screwworm in its tracks. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Next, I want to introduce Alan Kane with the Texas Parks and Wildlife, who will prove to be one of our most important partners to solve for this, as Texas does have a significant amount of wildlife in South Texas. Mr. Kane, thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and all your support, and Governor Abbott, your support for the agency and all agencies involved in this critical response. Texans love their wildlife. It's an incredibly diverse state, and we have, for example, about 5.4 million white-tailed deer throughout the state, which is an incredible economic driver for many rural communities out there, to around $9.6 billion just on deer hunting alone. The primary role that Texas Parks and Wildlife is going to play in this response is obviously coordinating with our partners at USDA, USDA Wildlife Services, Texas Animal Health Commission, and others to monitor wildlife through surveillance, enforcement of live animal inspections of native wildlife movements such as deer breeding, wildlife rehab, scientific research permits, and outreach to the public. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department has an extensive network of private landowners that our biologists and game wardens work with day in and day out. That network encompasses approximately 12,000 landowners and ranch manager contacts, approximately 32 million acres across the state through our wildlife management activities on those properties. This resource, this landowner resource, is critical to help leverage our contacts with those folks to be able to support Texas Animal Health Commission and USDA response and engagement with those landowners for fly trapping, establishment of release areas and inspection requests, and general surveillance in those areas. Like you've heard from many of the folks speaking today, is that landowner cooperation is going to be critical. You guys are the front lines. Wildlife are not like cattle. You can't gather them up. You can't look at them. So we need you when you're out there in your pastures and driving around, checking your cameras, checking wildlife, especially during the hunting season. This comes up. That's going to be critical because, as Dr. Dinges pointed out, the quicker we can find those detections, the quicker we can respond. That access to not only these landowners, but about 1 million licensed hunters in the state of Texas provides us an opportunity to an incredible outreach opportunity to get information out, factual information, and how to respond. And we continue to work hand in hand with Texas Animal Health Commission and USDA during this pest, and hopefully we can take care of that soon. So I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Our Undersecretary for Research, Scott Hutchins, as I mentioned himself, Dr. Hutchins, a 31-year entomologist who's going to talk a little bit about our Novo fly, the next steps on that, and the additional work going on. Thank you, Dr. Hutchins.
Thank you, Madam Secretary, and Governor Abbott, thank you for being here. And as representative of the Agriculture Research Service, I want to also introduce Dr. Kim Lohmeyer. She's the R&D director for this lab in this area, so thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us to host this as well with the screwworm community broadly, but also with our stakeholders and our distinguished guests. So thank you very much. I'm really honored to welcome everybody on that behalf to the recently opened Nippling Bushland U.S. Livestock Insects Research Laboratory. Just 10 days ago, we had the ribbon cutting here, but I don't want you to think that we've only been doing this for 10 days. This site and its previous buildings and satellite sites have been, this is also our 80th anniversary of doing this work and working in this particular space. So we have quite a bit of experience. And you've heard from the previous speakers just how important the current focus is on tracking and so forth. Our job is to develop the future tools, the tools that are going to allow us to elevate the fight against the screwworm and really take it to that next level. And so we're very pleased to do that. But the Agriculture Research Service is not alone. We have our great land grant partners, and in this state in particular, Texas A&M, obviously, and Texas AgriLife. And it's that synergy between the land grant system and the federal agencies that allow us to really do the things that we can all do together. It's such a critical partnership that we have. So it's a national treasure for us to be able to work with them and to develop that kind of impact. And we do it at the direction and the full partnership with our friends at APHIS, and specifically with the directorate, as the Admiral had made reference to. I want to say a few words about what we're doing to elevate the fight and the opportunity, and the Secretary's already made reference to it. But we have 100% confidence in the sterile insect technique. It was developed by the namesakes of this laboratory, Drs. Nippling and Dr. Bushland. And in the 40s and 50s, they did all they could do. But the tools that we have today and the opportunities that we have today to really build on and amplify that activity is really stunning to study. For example, the Agriculture Research Service, with their collaborators, has developed a novel fly strain that was referenced, and we refer to it as the Novo fly. The Novo fly, Novo is Latin for new, and it's the root for innovate. And this particular innovation is exactly that. It's going to allow us to almost instantaneously double the number of flies, sterile flies, that we put in the fight, because it's going to allow us to produce only male sterile flies. So if you have a plant that produces 100 million flies, as we do today, 50% of those are sterile females. They do us no good in this particular fight. So by going to 100% male, sterile males, we're able to instantly double our production. So it's going to give us a tremendous edge in that regard. But it's not all that we're doing. We have a number of other activities going as well. We have a very aggressive effort to discover the very specific attractants that the screwworm female in particular zeroes in on. We saw that in the lab today. The Secretary had a tour. So we're looking for those volatiles that come from the umbilical cord, that come from blood, that come from other things, so that we can zero in on that specific odor, if you want to think of it in that context, that will attract the female fly, and not all of the other flies and all the other indiscriminate activities that go with that. And how can we use that? Well, obviously we can use that for monitoring, but we can also develop what I would refer to as a modern SWAS. SWAS is a word that's been used around. It stands for Screwworm Adult Suppression System. There were some early methods used in the 70s to try this very indiscriminate approach. The materials for the lure and the materials for the insecticide are no longer really viable to utilize anymore. I spent hours on the phone with the EPA last week, and fundamentally the ones used in the past are not registrable and not usable. So we're going to develop one that's very specific, that allows us to do what we need to do without any collateral impact to the environment, and very focused and specific. And even if we don't develop that, we should have a lot of confidence in the sterile insect technique. You know, in Florida and the Southeast, which was very heavily infested with the screwworm in the 50s, completely eradicated in 1959 with only the use of the sterile insect technique, because the SWAS techniques did not even emerge until the 1970s. So we have a lot of confidence in that. Last thing I'll say is that we are developing very precise, using modeling and artificial intelligence, very precise modeling techniques for the fly and its movement. The Admiral and the Directorate use every week the specific modeling results, so they know exactly where to drop the flies and put the flies in order to maintain that, because as he had indicated, we don't have enough to do the complete push, but we do have enough to manage, and we do have enough to manage the growth of the development of it in Texas. So to be sure, we do have big challenges ahead, but we're committed to developing the tools and developing the techniques that will allow us to win this fight in the short run, and also specifically in the long run. And our discovery goals within the Agriculture Research Service and the USDA and the land grants are 100% focused on this fight.
Thank you, Dr. Hutchins. Thank you. We've got two more quick speakers. I'm going to end with you, Stephen, just so we can hear from the rancher to wrap us up. Right now, I'm going to turn over to John Bellinger, whom I mentioned at the top, with significant private sector experience, especially in building and moving projects out. I'm really, really excited. I know all the teams are to have him on board. Again, Mr. Bellinger, thank you. John, please join me.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins. It is an honor to be selected for this, and thank you for the call on Saturday night and approved yesterday. and it's an honor to be with you in the Trump administration. I look forward to working with you. Governor Abbott, we've worked for 3 years together solving issues none bigger than this, and we will get it solved. I hear you both loud and clear. I also want to thank Chairman of the Board of Regents, Bob Albritton, for allowing me to take on this and still be a regent at Texas A&M. Look, I've got a passion for this. Agriculture is my passion. It's my background. I'm unfortunately, as old as I am, I doctored calves in the 60s with that purple spray. I don't know if any of you did that, but I remember catching the calves and looking at those maggots and spraying it and killing them. We were blessed it went away. It's back. It's going to take USDA. It's going to take the state of Texas. It's going to take the Texas A&M system. And it's going to take anybody in the world, if they both have said that we can go get. And we're going to go get, and we're going to turn over every stone. My simple objective is to get more sterile flies. There's a lot of research going on. We'll see. We hope it works. We hope we can, come up with something. But the obvious is we need more sterile flies, whether it's the Novo fly or expanding what we have in Panama, in Mexico, getting Edinburgh open. And I'm going to turn over every stone to look for another BSL-2 lab. And it might be at the University of Texas. I don't know, because stranger things have happened. I'm calling Zerwalk pretty quick to see if he's got one. But we are going to turn over every stone to find more sterile flies. We have to be ready next spring, and that's the bottom line. Thank you again. Look forward to working with each of you. Let me know how I can help you, and please send me any suggestions and thoughts that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. He mentioned, but it's true, that the idea came to me Saturday afternoon to add someone to the team that would be relentless and intentional and vigorously search for more solutions. And John popped into my head for a lot of reasons. I checked with the governor. I said, what do you think about this? He said, I love it. And within 12 hours, the White House had signed off on, done the background checks, and approved. And here we are today. So within 48 hours. So really appreciate you, John, stepping up in such a significant way with very short notice. I appreciate that. And finally, and then we'll open up for some questions, is one of our great ranchers and president of the Texas Southwestern Cattle Raisers and a great partner in all this, Stephen Diebel. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Governor. We appreciate being a part of this historic event. We appreciate all the partnerships. We've been working at this for probably 18 months or 2 years now, and it's very, very refreshing to see the partnerships that we have worked with, and we're so fortunate for that. I'd like to make 5 points, and those points have already been talked about. Number one, no need to panic. We have had a plan in place, and we've had that plan, and we know it works. Meat is safe. We do not have a food safety issue. Treated and inspected cattle can move. We've talked about these protocols with Animal Health Commission, Parks and Wildlife Department, and all of our partners for many months now. New World Screwworm is highly treatable, and if detected early, can be very solvable. Monitor and report. We really want to reiterate to the producers, it is so imperative to report. That way, those solutions can be expedited to those ranches. And we've eradicated this pest, and we'll certainly do it again. A big thanks to all the partnerships again over the last couple of years, and just really want to emphasize the surveillance, the enhancements that we can do. We're much better prepared than we were in the 60s and the 70s. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thank you. A very quick shout out to the USDA team. Friday I was with President Trump in Wisconsin, which is why I wasn't next to the governor when he talked about this 2 days ago. But we decided to do this Friday afternoon. So the team from Washington pulled this off, put this together for all the press that I know Chad probably had your Monday turned upside down when we noticed this just a little while ago. And then of course to all the team standing beside me. I think it does go to the priority that this issue has for all of us working in this space. So thank you. We'll open it up for questions. Would you mind introducing yourself and who you're with? Meredith, great to have you. And repeat your question. Let me just briefly touch on that, and then Governor, unless you want to lean in, I'll have the Admiral lean in specifics. We obviously don't have this number of months and days, but what we do know is that we are in a position based on everything we've been building out over the last year, that rather than years and years, which is what happened in the 1950s and 1960s, our goal is to have enough sterile flies deployed and out into Texas and wherever else this happens to be before the next summer season pops up. That is the goal. Now, I want to underscore, most people would say that is an impossible goal, that normally a facility takes 2 years to permit, 4 years to build. We got way behind, 100 million flies out of Panama. Everyone thought that would be enough to keep it eradicated. We haven't had it here for 60 years, but this is Texas, and this is Governor Abbott time, and this is Trump time, and it's a different time, and this is why we've built out a pretty significant team. So that's the goal. I don't know, Admiral, if you want to add anything to that. Anything I didn't get?
Nope, you got it, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So great question. It's hard to know until we have additional data. And so the more we hear from you, the more information that we receive from Texas Animal Health, the more information we receive from Texas Parks and Wildlife, the better sense we have. And so we have done this before, as was mentioned. We have seen other countries address this, and we've seen how they've been successful and perhaps not as successful as they could have been. A key critical part on this is the state contribution. And so I really want to thank the governor for not just the support of Texas Animal Health and Texas Park and Wildlife, but what he's been able to do to open up all of the state agencies to be able to support us. And so whether it is security, whether it is working with Texas AgriLife, it doesn't matter. The more we can work with people, the faster we can be able to address this.
So real quick, to help you understand what it means to the timeline. Whatever the timeline is, our expectation is to get it done faster than that. And we get that done through several strategies. One is through the whole of government approach, where every single state employee in the state of Texas is responsible at my direction to respond to this. Through the disaster declaration that I issued, I've waived any regulations that could slow this down, any purchasing requirements that would slow this down, and ensure that we bring in people like John Bellinger, who are going to accelerate whatever the timeline was before his mission began.
Well said. There's so many questions. I'm so sorry. If we don't get to your follow-up with the other questions, then let us know. Ask the question at Screwworm. Go ahead. Well, first of all, I will work to be judicious. That is a very unserious comment from a perhaps unserious ag commissioner with just a few months left. It is also a very dangerous suggestion, if you will. I may ask Stephen to respond to that. From my perspective, every interaction, every conversation. I've been on Zoom with our cattle raisers in Texas, and especially our South Texas cattle raisers, nonstop since last Wednesday, but also regularly since last year about how we prepare for that. And the great South Texas ranchers that are actually here, including some of the ranchers where the first case was found, are here today. I'll be on their ranch on Thursday down with them. They have been nothing, as you would expect, but patriotic. No, they're part of the battle. We're all on the same team, and we have to solve this together. Stephen, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but I think that's so important, and I really appreciate the question and the chance to clarify.
Well, as we've educated our producers for the past 2 years, it's so important to report. Once reporting takes place, our solutions can be had. It can be that quick. So reporting is a very, very key piece to the puzzle. Unreporting just furthers that problem. So again, our cattle can be treated, inspected, and moved. So the need for having those movement controls is very, very important.
Thank you, Dr.
You bet. Yeah, thank you for that question. Cattle can move, and livestock can move, animals can move, just as long as they've been inspected, treated, whatever that's going to look like, identified, and have the proper documentation to prove that they've met all those requirements. I know people here are quarantined, so on and so forth. We just need to make sure we're not moving animals that are infested out of one of these infested zones. We have to be able to regionalize this in our state, because we have livestock in other parts of our state that need to move on a daily basis, and we can't have our trade partners embargoing any livestock or animals from Texas. So
You know, the simplicity of this is if you don't report, the flies are going to proliferate. They're going to grow. If you report, we only have so many flies to drop. You're going to get a priority on those flies. So it's to your economic benefit to tell us what's going on.
absolutely.
You'll introduce yourself. We don't have a timeline. Obviously, we're just at the beginning of this now new phase of the battle with it on our side of the border, but we will be watching very, very closely. It is an important point that while it is here in Texas, it's still about 800 miles away from the port in Arizona. Understanding the significant economic harm and challenge closing the ports have been to some of our feeders and feedlots in this side of the border. So it is not lost on me. We will continue to watch the data very, very, very closely. And if we can move out the way we believe we can to contain, the reports come in, we proliferate the screwworm sterile fly technology alongside the other technologies that we're looking very closely at when we can open at least the ports that are far, far away from the current outbreak. Having said that, I will stand by the decision all day, every day to close those ports. It did give us an additional year, and it also brought Mexico to the table to be our partners to keep it as long as possible south of the border. Thank you. Yes, sir. Hi, Josh. You too. Dr. Dingus, that would be great. Thank you. It's still a live story.
Yeah.
It just happened, but we've got a little more information.
So we received a report Saturday night that this dog was brought over by a New Mexico resident to a vet clinic there in Andrews County. The dog remains there, is being treated. We're following up on the epi work on this case to see if the dog, we're thinking this man is from Mexico, obviously, and we're thinking he had the dog in Mexico with him at some time in the recent future. I mean, the recent past. So, yep.
Yes, in the back, in the red, and then we'll come.
Thank you for that question. On the first part, the science is going to drive us. And so as we've been doing for the last year and a half, the more data we get, the more we determine how we lift and shift our things. And so we felt, based on where the cases were, the best approach to hit this quickly was to have those flights lift off from Moore Air Base. When cases might be in other places, like say, for example, in Mexico, we might have our planes lift off from Mexico. So it really depends on the data. And so our commitment is wherever these cases are, we're going to do the best thing and the fastest thing that is out there. So we started dropping sterile flies within a day from that case report. And so that the question earlier on about whether or not people report cases, I should have said to the answer to the earlier question, you want this to get over quicker, have people report. Ask people to report. Beg people to report. That's what we need, okay? And so again, being able to disperse those flies, you know, that the science is going to tell us where to go, and it'll also determine how long we do it, and also whether we need to shift. Second part of your question, remind me. Okay, that's what I thought you. Yeah, and so you're talking about a timeline for construction, and so as the secretary mentioned, not close enough. And so right now the original plan is to be able to have phase 1 of Moore Air Base to be finished in November of next year. That would bring us to about 100 million sterile flies per week. Phase 2, about 1 year after, would be an additional 200 million sterile flies. And so as a frame of reference, right now we have 100 million sterile flies a week that we're bringing in from Panama, our COPEG facility there. The Matapa production facility that the secretary mentioned in Mexico is about to turn on its lights and about to open its doors in a couple of weeks. Once that gets up to speed, Mexico tells us by the end of the year they will be at a full 100. But they're going to be developing flies along the way, and we're not going to wait, right? So you add the COPEG that we have 100 million of now per week. You have Matapa, an additional eventual 100 million. We have Moore Air Base, phase 1, 100 million. Phase 2, an additional 200 million, for a total of 500 million. This is critical. When we looked at the 60s, 70s, and 80s and how we were successful, it was roughly about 500 million flies. There's a but, and I want to turn over to Undersecretary Hutchins. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that 500 number and how it actually relates to NovoFly?
Absolutely. Well, it's pretty simple math. If you need 500, if you have 500 flies today, that's 250 male flies, right? So if we produce with a NovoFly 250 million flies, they're all in the fight. And if we produce at the same rate we would before, then we have 500 million. So it's a force multiplier. I keep using Department of War analogies with the Admiral, but it's a force multiplier, and it will allow us to get control and management first and foremost when we have that kind of capacity.
Thank you. We'll do 2 more questions right here.
Yes, Madam Secretary. Bob Bishop from the Livestock Exporters Association. Sometimes our trading partners don't always follow the science. For instance, in HPAI, we got shut off in Turkey, shut off in Israel. Fortunately, today Israel's in attack.
That's right.
What can we do as an industry to educate our trading partners and let them know that this is not an economic program profit that's going to affect them, and we still should be open for
No, that's right. I think that an important point on that, and you're right, we've made incredible progress. I know we're here to talk about the screwworm, but I could talk on and on about the president's trade agenda. In just over a year, we have 19 new trade deals and new frameworks. We've cut an agricultural trade deficit by half based on what we inherited from Joe Biden, 50 billion down to about 25 billion in 1 year. The reason this is important is because all of those deals that have been negotiated include these sorts of details in them. And I talked to Jamison Greer, our lead trade rep in the cabinet, yesterday about this, and Saturday and Friday. He is very keyed in on this being a priority as he continues those conversations around the world alongside our Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and our Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. They're our key negotiators around the world, in addition to the chief negotiator Donald Trump, whom I've also spoken with about this. So this is a different moment in a different administration who is extremely aggressive in putting agriculture first, not only in America and around the world. And so we're going to keep a really close eye on that, but I feel fairly confident that we'll be able to solve for that as we move forward. So thank you. One more here, and then we'll do one right there. Admiral or Dr. Dinges? I know we're still gathering data. That just happened today.
Thank you for the question, sir. So as you mentioned, that is today's data. And so we are still in the process of gathering additional epidemiological information. We're working to understand what is the potential cause of that infestation, especially so when it's in a different spot than any other cases that we've seen. It could be a variety of different reasons for why it is in that particular location. It's going to take the day to be able to get additional information. As time continues to move on, we'll get more. Sir?
You bet. We've got a foreign animal disease diagnostician headed to that premises, and I'm going to interview to get some more epi information from that producer. But that was a sample that was hand carried. you bet. No, we're looking into it. There's some stuff that just doesn't add up just yet, so we're looking into that case there. So certainly appreciate that.
And one move I want to note, and it's a huge shout out to the team here on the ground in Kerrville, and also to our great team in Iowa. The normal testing, for those of you that follow this closely, is out of our National Vet Lab in Iowa. It's been that way for decades. And when we first got word of this last Wednesday, as a lot of you were tracking, we chartered a plane, we flew it up to Iowa, and the team, probably driven by me more than anyone, said, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Why are we chartering planes to fly worms to Iowa? I mean, we need to get a confirmation, obviously, but this is just silly. So within about 24 hours, that team from Iowa relocated here to Kerrville, Texas. I expect some additional long-term Texas residents out of this, Governor, once they learn how great it is here. Not that we don't love Iowa, but we now have the testing fully here in Kerrville, Texas. So we know, that's right here. So we no longer have to go to Iowa for that testing. So that's a huge, huge addition. One more. I think you're talking about the reduction in force from the beginning of the Trump administration. There has been zero impact to this mission area, specifically to the screwworm, based on that reduction in force. In fact, I asked our incredible Dr. Kim, the head of the facility here, if she specifically had seen any change, and she said absolutely not. Everyone continued through and are so proud of this work here. And I think maybe I'll finish with this. For the men and women that are, we just met in the labs, who have been with the USDA or as part of the research facilities in the land grants for decades, as they have given their life to this work. Their life's work is solving for these major national security issues, and that's what this is, to protect our food supply and our cattle ranchers. The importance of this moment in time and meeting this moment can't be overstated. But as I met with your researchers, as we walked through over the last hour, and as I've done over the last year and a half in visiting these different research facilities, Dr. Hutchins, and all the time I've spent at Texas A&M with their researchers, these are real heroes in the American system today. And for what they do every day, you know, looking through at how many millions of flies at this point, looking through microscopes day after day, year after year, but to prepare for this moment is just so encouraging and awe-inspiring. So no, there is no compromise to the work. In fact, I think the work accelerated significantly beginning last spring, last January when we came on board to prepare for this time. I'll leave it to the governor to close us out, if that's okay, sir. And again, just so grateful to be here. We'll be back here on Thursday, and hopefully we'll get to see some of you then. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Secretary, for being here. Thank everybody who is behind me. Thank you to all the ranchers across the entire state. Listen, we got Texas-sized spirit on this. All hands on deck. We can address this just like we have in the past. We're going to get it done. Thank y'all. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas, United States of America.